welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living right here in beautiful Fullerton, California. Thank you all for joining us today in person and also online. My name is Tomoko Rosas and I'm a practitioner here at the center. Please join me in stating our purpose statement. We are a loving spiritual community, empowering all to live healthy and successful lives through practicing the principles of Science of Mind. A few announcements before we get started. Happy Labor Day weekend. Yay! Remember not to labor on Labor Day. That's an advice that was given to me this week. Okay, our biggest fundraiser, Sizzling Summer Raffle Drawing, is on Sunday, September 28th, and tickets are on sale now until the time of the drawing. So get your tickets today or anytime in between. Prizes are on display and few more to come. So a few more beautiful items to come. All right, new shipment of books are in at the special price until supplies last, so come check them out at the bookstore. If you'd like to submit a story, or actually that one has already passed, I should have crossed that out. So the newsletter is already being worked on, so it's too late. But if you have a story for the newsletter, save it for the next one. Wednesday spiritual support group is ongoing every week on Wednesday at 1 p.m. All welcome. Unexpected Income Club is doing great. Thank you all for your participation. All right, and I'll pass it on to Rick and Richard.
I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still and let God love me. When this whole world starts to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. As we go into service today, we know that Spirit is at the center of this activity, knowing that it expresses in and through us, and bringing the stuff we need to live a joyful, peaceful, and harmonious lives. And it is with these blessings of gratitude that I thank everybody who makes this service possible. The Board of Trustees, the ushers and greeters, the hands who always provide us with a special fellowship afterwards, the practitioners, the volunteers, the teachers and parents when we have children here, this loving philosophy into their lives. I bless the music, and I bless those that bring us a lot of joy when we get to hear them. And if I've left anyone out, we appreciate you. And last but not least, a special blessing to Reverend Dr. Bill as he brings that message we always find personally made for us. With a grateful heart, this blessing is perfect, whole, and complete. And releasing this into the Word, we let it be. My reading today is probably, I think we're in order here, right? Tomoko? Yes. Joy. I'm told it's the second, according to Bill's talk. In all things, I choose joy. The sun's rays spill over the horizon and a brilliant display of morning color. This beauty rises in me each day, too, as joy. Just as the sun needs no coaxing to emerge, joyfulness exists apart from other circumstances, as natural and reliable as the sunrise we're blessed to see each day. Joy fills me with warm feelings of gratitude as daylight dawns. I rejoice in spirit within that it energizes and gives me life. I carry this feeling with me into the day as though it's a bright light shining from within me. No matter how the day will unfold, I feel blissful, thinking of the many ways I am blessed. Just as the sun sets and disappears from view, joy remains even if my emotions sometimes obscure it. But I can always call upon the joy that is within me to bring warmth and the brightness to my life. And in the Bible, in Psalm 32:11, it says, "Be glad in the Lord and rejoice, O righteousness, and shout for joy, all you upright, always in heart." Let's take that into prayer. God is all in all. God is all in all. God in me is unlimited. I accept this and I proceed and demonstrate it. I don't make my troubles a stumbling block, but rather stepping stones. There's always a way out of our troubles, because the way is spiritual and mental and not material. I have to struggle with the conditions, but I demonstrate with mind I have a way out and a way upward. The way is joyous and it is loving. So we often hear respond with love. Today, let's respond with joy. The solution to my situation makes me a better person. I'm victorious over my troubles. In quietness, my purpose becomes clear. The way of truth is mine today, and it always is. There's nothing to oppose me, and all of God is working for me and my solution. Thank you, God, for I know you hear and answer all of my treatments. You answer my prayers. I accept my life is fulfilled now and always. I release this treatment in the law with love, and so it is.
Good morning, beautifuls. Did you know that you can step into the light without stepping into the heat? Unless you go through that door over there. And so here's a song called Step Into the Light. 1, 2, 3, 4. You turned around and found that you weren't living life. Just looking down is not the way to get it right. There is a change in the air all around you. Pick a vision up off the ground. So long ago, you held that diamond in your hand. But you didn't know the paradise that God had planned. There is a heaven so deep within you, a song just waiting to begin. Believing is the first step from blindness into sight, and forgiving is the best step when you step into the light. heart that's made of stone. No one can say that God would leave us all alone. My mind is ripe and ready for changing, and the Almighty's here to take the pain away. Believing is the first step from blindness into sight. Forgiving is the best step when you step into the light. Believing is the first step from blindness into sight. And forgiving is the best step when you step into the light. You turned around and found that you weren't living right. Just looking down is not the way to get right. Don't you know there is a change in the air all around you? Put your vision above the ground. But believing is the first step from blindness into sight. Forgiving is the best step when you step into the light. Oh, believing is the first step from blindness into sight. Forgiving is the best step when you step into the light. Step into the light. Step into the light. Step into the light.
Thanks, Miss Dale. So, good morning. This is the last Sunday of this overarching theme, Living in Joy. Not to say that we're going to stop living in joy, but we're going to move on to a different theme for next month. But before we do that, I want to talk about some things that sometimes, some terms that we sometimes use interchangeably, although they're really not, and how they stack up. You know, don't we have this tendency in the Western world, or to be fair, in the modern day Western world, where we want to keep score? Yeah. Somebody's first, somebody's second, somebody's third. It's not really like that with spiritual principles and spiritual practices. But I guess it's just been force-fed to us to kind of think in that fashion. So if you would like to think of, for your very own self, which spiritual practice or spiritual feeling, quality would come in first, knock yourself out. But I'm going to say that, and second place goes to joy. See, because of the way we have this really convoluted way of keeping score as it is, we automatically think that second place is less than. And I like to think of it the other way. Second place is more than the millions that are left behind before we get to second place. And, you know, and somebody in our culture, I remember once said, yeah, nobody remembers who came in second. And again, I just point to that being this wayward method of thinking that we have here in this culture, because in many, many, many cultures, and for thousands of years, people could sit around having that tin cup full of grog after the event And they could tell you everybody who was involved and how well they did, and not put a number on which place they finished in, because everybody involved was part of the effort and was part of the team. And that's the way it is with spiritual practices. They're all part of what we do. They're part of the package that makes us who we are and makes our life the way it is. But back to those three things that we sometimes get confused, and what I'm thinking of this morning is between happiness and joy, and I want to say the other thing I'm thinking of is something we call bliss. I'm going to expand on that a little bit and figure out why that is so important. And at first blush, we're probably going to think, well, okay, those things are very similar. They have some similar traits. You know, it's true. There's a difference in degree, and there is. But I'm going to come right out and say it. It's not just a difference in degree. It's a difference in kind between these things. Because happiness, everybody has experienced. Because, why? Because something has happened in our lives that made us happy. Somebody did something, somebody said something, we went somewhere, we experienced something, we had an occasion, we had a thing that provoked happiness in us. And of course, we're willing to take it, always. But the fact is, when that thing is over, pretty much so is the happiness. It might linger a little while, and especially if it's over because something happened at once to cause it to be over. Now the happiness definitely is over right now. And we know that it's due completely, totally to circumstance. But when we get to our second place finisher, joy, joy doesn't go away like that. Joy is not the result of something happening to us. Joy is a choice we make. Joy is a life choice that we make. It's a life decision. It's a way of life. It's a world view. Okay, so are they different totally and completely? Yes. Do they have some similar traits? Yes. But they are different at bottom. They are fundamentally different. Because whether we're happy or not in a moment, we can have joy. We can be joyful. We can have something untoward happen to us and we can still be joyful because we know at bottom there's that inviolable part of us, that God spark of us, because we are made totally and completely 100% of the substance of God, and we are powered by the power of God. Consequently, that part of me that is the immortal part, the eternal part, that part of me that is fully orbed as God's substance and God's power is never going to be subject to any harm. If that can't bring me joy, I don't know what can. And at certain times that can bring me absolute happiness too. But it doesn't have to. Because if something happens to me, I still know, you know what? I'm going to be fine. Everybody we know and everybody we don't know wants to hear those words. You're going to be fine. Those joyful words, you're going to be fine. Not those happy words, hey, you're going to be fine tonight. Ooh, so you're going to pay the price tomorrow, right? No, it's not that. It's that solid, substantial feeling of joy that we get to choose. What about if joy only gets second place? What gets first place? Well, I've already let the cat out of the bag. It's this thing called bliss. And the reason that this is different in kind from the other two similar feelings, happiness and joy, is because it is transcendent. We don't have to choose bliss. When we have arrived at bliss because we have transcended this world, when we are in touch with that eternality that is at base, our foundation, when we are understanding that we are children of God, we are creatures in God, we're made in the image and likeness thereof, which means all those God qualities are part of us. Joy, beauty, happiness, community, forgiveness, gratitude, acceptance. Those things are all part of us, and there's a long, long, long list of them. But when we stop identifying with just those things, as great as they are, and we identify with the one thing that will remove us from the possibility of harm forever and always, that's that Christ consciousness. When we can be fully orbed in that Christ consciousness, and when we live from that, that is so much different than being happy, or so much different than having joy. It's being in bliss. It's being in that state where all those other things still occur, but they're like, they don't even count. Because we are in that transcendent realm. We are in that space that is so great for us. And in addition to the gifts of spirit that we get to enjoy, because they all come with that. We can't have a state of bliss and not have all those qualities that lead up to it. It's just part of the package. But I think we could have all those qualities in some degree or other and still not be in the state of bliss. Because it's not something that we choose. It's something that we recognize. It's something that we recognize as being who we are fundamentally, as being the truth of who we are, being that spark, that Christ mind at work within us, and us, of course, within it. How can we go wrong? That's number one in my book. One of the feelings we get with transcendence that we seldom get with the other things, with anything else, is elation. Okay? We can be super, super, super happy and never hit elation. We can be super, super, super joyful, never hit elation. But when we know, and know that we are eternally and infinitely indestructible visions, instantiations of that one power, that one presence, that's cause for elation. I want to talk about that later. You know, I'm a big Paramahansa Yogananda fan. In his book, The Divine Romance, titled Finding the Joy in Life, no less, he says, have you ever tried to catch that will-o'-the-wisp something else which still dances in the background of your feelings at the end of all accomplished desires? Analyze it. You hanker after something as long as you are not able to get it. But when it is secured, sooner or later, you tire of it and you want something else. We could gain everything in the world that we ever wanted. Let's just say, everything we ever wanted all at once, poof, here it is. Wow. Like a kid at Christmas. Everything we ever wanted. And yet, eventually, we would tire of all of that and we'd want something more. Something else. Something different. Except when we've hit that level of joy and above. Because when we have joy, we don't have need for something else to be added to it. And when we're in that Christ-conscious state, that state of bliss, we certainly don't need anything. In fact, we don't even really realize there are things to have, that there are things to wish for, to want, to desire, to dare I say, to pray for. Let me see if he said anything else noteworthy. Ah, can you imagine this? True love is divine, and divine love is joy. The more you meditate seeking God with a burning desire, the more you will feel that love in your heart. Then you will know that love is joy and joy is God. We can have happiness without knowing a thing about God. We can even think we have joy without knowing it, but the fact is, if we have joy, that is a connection to that divine life principle, to that divine giving principle, that supporter, creator, supporter, sustainer of all things. And we have to be connected with that. And at the moment, feel that connection. Choose to feel that connection. Under the heading, the aurora of bliss. Bliss is the pole star to which all mariner souls, storm-tossed on the waves of tumultuous sorrow and exciting pleasure, look for guidance. That's where we look for guidance, because we know that there is no tumult there, there's no storm there, there's no untoward conditions there, there's no undesirable, no negative, there's no anything there except knowing the truth of who we are, knowing our place, knowing that we are that Christ consciousness at work right here. That Christ consciousness came with the beginning of the universe. We didn't have to special order it, and we don't have to do anything to get it. We already have it. What we have to do is forget all those things we've been taught, all those times we've been told that we are not that. When we've been told that somebody else is that, a pope, a preacher, a minister, a guru, and sure, it's nice to have them to talk to, just don't think that any of them are going to do something for us. None of them are blessing us with that Christ consciousness. That Christ consciousness is ours. We bless ourselves with it when we remove all the obstacles to it and take away everything about our identity that is not it. But we make our identity up of so many things. But that Christ consciousness, while everything else coming to us comes to us from the external world, that's internal. It is external also. But when we use it, when we come face to face with it, when we come to the realization that that is who we are, and we can wield that power, and we can use that presence, we can be that power and that presence. What a game changer. What a game changer. There's nothing at that point that we can't do. Funny thing, I mentioned earlier, but praying, and don't we do that? Don't we pray? Here's something I think about prayer. Oh God, they're going to hate me for this. They might pull my ministerial license. It seems to me that prayer is a sure indication that we haven't hit the bliss of Christ consciousness. Because when we are enmeshed in that Christ consciousness, and we're dealing from that, and we know that that's the way of life we're living, we have no need to pray for anything. It's already there. You know, the master teacher Jesus told us that. He said, the Father knows what you want before you even say the words. That Christ consciousness knows what our soul wants and demands and is forever searching. When we are in that soul-searching mode, it's only because we're not aware that we already are all that and a bag of chips. We already are that Christ consciousness. It's alive and well within us, and it's working on our behalf. There's a gal that has a blog, Maria Popova. And I don't know, some years ago she changed. I trying to remember what the original name of it was, because that's what drew me to it in the first place. But she's changed it, and the name of it is The Marginalian, these last 8 or 10 years or something. And it's mostly about poetry and how she assesses different situations in terms of poetry. But she had a blog recently that I just felt so apropos to me. It's something that just needed to be shouted from the hilltops. And she said this: there are 2 poles of life: holding on, letting go. Kind of like the 2 pillars outside the ancient Greek home of the soul. See? We know that the price of love is loss, she says. We know that. The price of love is loss. Everything we're ever going to love, at some point, we're going to lose. But we do it anyway. We do it anyway because the happiness and the joy that comes from that is such that we don't want to be without that. So if the price is going to be paid anyway, why don't we enjoy the love that goes along with it beforehand? And then she says, we also know this: our atoms will one day belong, those atoms, those trillions of atoms that come together to make up you and me for just a short while, one of those days they're going to belong to generations of other living creatures who too will die and pass those atoms on to the future. Because this is God's substance. It can never be done away with. It can never disappear. It can never end. It can only become something else. And when we realize that, is that not cause for elation? Is that not cause for bliss? Wow. How sweet it is. From his book, Man's Eternal Quest, Paramahansa Yogananda says this: your seeking must be continuous. Okay, it's not okay to stumble through life willy-nilly with no plan, no direction, no knowledge about our eternal, infinite Godness. And then all at once, when something happens that we don't like, say, oh, wait a minute, all at once, I believe there's a God. I believe there's a life principle. I believe that there's a higher intelligence, that there's a power that I can use to help me out of this. I wouldn't say it's completely not workable. Sometimes it does work. Other times it doesn't work. But why take a chance? Why not be always in that mode? Why not have that lifestyle? Why not always be aware of that Christ consciousness and play from it, so that when something happens that we're not happy about, we're not a stranger to the method and the procedure to overcome it, to transcend it, to put it behind us, to realize the joy that is still there, and understand that that bliss that we're living from goes on in spite of all those things that happen to us. You cannot summon God by a little cry. It must be unceasing and not quelled by toys of money, fame, and human love. Ooh. This guy takes no prisoners. When your desire is only for God, God will come. Then your lessons in the world are finished. You're filled evermore with the joy of the infinite. What a great place to be. And then, of course, as he often does, he quotes the Bhagavad Gita, saying this: he who works for me alone, who makes me his goal, who lovingly surrenders himself to me, who is non-attached to the delusional world, who bears ill will toward none, who sees me, God, in everything and everybody, he enters my being. And I would just rephrase that a little bit. We don't have to enter that being, we're already in there. We just become aware of our entrance, aware of our being there, aware of our existence in that cosmic mind, in that intelligence, in that life principle, that consciousness that grounds all being. Because when we're in there, looking out, the whole world is cause for joy. The whole world. There's nothing in this world that can't be somehow transformed into joy. And when we're living in that state of bliss, of course, hello, off we go. That happened? Yeah. Well, who knew? So how do we find this bliss? Well, if you're Paramahansa Yogananda, or any of those Indian gurus or saints and sages, you find it by meditation. Where do we want to look for God? Because God is everywhere. So we can look out here and see if we can sift through all the different things and find out where it is. On the other hand, because it's everywhere, and because each of us is made up 100% of that God substance, empowered 100% by that power and presence of that divine inspiration, why wouldn't we just go look in there? Now, in some cultures, 4, 5, 6 hours a day of meditation is just not unlikely. And yet, in our culture, generally, 4, 5, 6 minutes is difficult to pull off. But still, there it is. So, if you can sit and meditate in the quiet with no distraction and just open your mind so open that it closed to all other things. Does that make sense? We have to open our mind such that it closes out all those things that are not important, all those daily trials and tribulations. And we just open it and allow that divine inspiration to come to us, and come to us it will. And the longer we can sit in that, the more it's going to come to us and the better we're going to be for it. And if we can't do that, because I know lots of people just don't meditate, and I'd suggest you're really missing out on something, but still, I get it. If we can't do that, the next best thing is mindfulness. Because there is nothing that we cannot do mindfully. I don't care what it is. Washing the dishes, wash the dishes mindfully. You're mowing the yard, mow the yard mindfully. I don't know, but I suppose if you're playing poker, you could play poker mindfully. But having our minds set on that divine inspiration, knowing that it's coming from us, we talk about it coming into us, filling us, and radiating forth through us. And we do that because that's a really nice mental picture, isn't it? That's a really nice way to describe it. But the fact is, it's more like, here's this blob. It's all consciousness. And here are these little tiny blobs all throughout it. That's all consciousness too, and that's us. So it doesn't have to come in us and go out through us. I guess what we should say is, because it's always in us, and it's always in, let's say it's in a state of movement, it's in a state of flux, it's always moving. If it's not radiating forth from us, it's not because it's not coming in, it's because we built a wall. Or we built a dam. Dam. That's what we built. So in order to make it flow again, in order to exercise our God-given right to be part of this flow of consciousness, all we have to do is seek out those things that are stopping it from happening in us, things that were installed in us after birth to stop that from happening, because they certainly didn't come with our birth. Nobody was born saying, well, I don't like asparagus, and I don't like you, and I don't like that person, I don't like this language or that food or this culture. Nobody was born like that. Those are all learned traits. Why would we put up with that? I just thinking about it, why would we do that? In fact, you know what? I'm getting a little upset right now at all the people that installed those sorts of triggers in me. But it's okay. I'm going to get over it because I don't need to hold on to that. I can let go of that and hold on only. And the holding on I'm doing isn't really a holding on. It's not like a gripping on. It's not like a grabbing. It's not like a hugging. I can't let you go. It's holding on by knowing that I'm free to not be concerned about anything else. Sure, do I have to navigate this planet? Of course I do. Am I going to walk out and play on a freeway? No, that's just silly. But I am going to know that as a child of God, I have that power. I am that power. If I'll just get out of my own way and get rid of all those blocks that have been built up in me, stopping me, preventing me from doing that. And then I'm going to be happy. I'm going to choose joy. But I want to live in bliss. I'm going to live in bliss knowing that this universe conspires for my good. Knowing that everything that happens is a stepping stone for me on my path, on that paseo of spirituality that is mine to do, that is mine to make, until I get to that point where I've left everything behind that I've identified with that is not divinity, that is not life principle, that is not what we call spirit. And there we are, left naked in our spirituality, just letting that gentle breeze blow upon us and cool us off. I'm going to stop right there. I only want to mention that this is the last Sunday of Joy. And the reason I wanted to talk about the differences between happiness, joy, and bliss is because next month our overarching theme is living in oneness. We can't get to oneness from happiness. We can't get to oneness even from joy. We can only get to oneness from the Christ consciousness, and that's why I wanted to end this month with that, so when we hit the ground running next Sunday, we understand all about how we get to deal with oneness. So let's just know this together. Let's just know that there is a power and a presence. that power and presence is eternal and it's infinite, and everything that ever was, ever will be, and is right now is part of that. It's some part of it. It is being worked and reworked. It's being created and born and sustained and reborn and recreated, and there's no end, there's no limit to the different types of possibilities that can come forth from this eternal field of possibility, this field of potentiality, where all things come. And even though we have no idea of what some of those things are going to look like, just like we had no idea of what they would look like, but today we see them, it will all come clear, and there will be a time when everything is crystal clear to us, because we're living in, from, and as that consciousness that is the Christ, that Christ consciousness, that very livingness based in pure, absolute, unadulterated spirituality and godliness. And when that happens, what a glorious place this is. Meanwhile, we can live as if, because we can live from that Christ consciousness. We can live in that field of bliss, in that state of bliss, knowing that everything is available to us. We just have to make ourselves available to it. And knowing that we can do this, knowing that we have the power to do this, and knowing that we are supported and lifted up and held up and shored up by that divine constructive consciousness that is the all in all. It's just with a grateful heart I say, thank you, God, for this. And I just let this word go, knowing that it is so. I let it be, and so it is. So this is our opportunity to share our good, to share our abundance. We know that all of our good comes from that one source, God, and for this we are grateful. Thank you for your continued support. It is that support that makes us a viable spiritual center. And for those not in the sanctuary today but supporting from afar, thank you also. Now let's just know that we bless these gifts as we do the givers who, from that consciousness of Christ, have provided all that is necessary for this spiritual center to do its good work in the world, and we send it forward in order to do just that, with no strings and no conditions. And so it is.
It's up to you. I give you all. When you give to each other, thou art my child, and I am in thee. So why are you empty when your life is full of me? 'Cause everything I have is yours, and everything you see is mine. feeling, accepting. Inside,
Wow, Rick Dale and Richard O'Hara. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow. Let's just know something together right here, right now. Something amazing is happening through me right now.
Something amazing is happening through me right now.
It's happening in my mind.
It's happening in my mind.
It's happening in my heart.
It's happening in my heart.
It's happening in my soul.
It's happening in my soul.
It's this glimpse
It's this
of that Christ consciousness
of that Christ consciousness
that will make my world blissful.
that will make my world blissful.
I'm happy about this.
I'm happy about it.
I'm open to receive.
I'm open to receive.
Thank you, God, in me.
Thank you,